everyone, and welcome to Zeng This. We got some interesting discussion in this episode today. We're going to be talking about, I guess this will be the first episode focused on girl power, you want to say?
Yeah, girl power.
But before we get to that, there was a very interesting trailer released recently.
Yeah, the Blade Runner.
Yes, the sequel to the original. So that's kind of interesting. I wonder if it's going to finally answer the question on whether Deckard is a replicant or not, since that was kind of kept aloof, and then certain versions of it said that he was, other versions said that he wasn't, certain people said that he is, other people said he isn't. So I mean that's kind of interesting. In other movie related news, since apparently this is just going to be a movie heavy discussion, live action Naruto is in, I guess, pre-production.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love Naruto. But, I mean, have they said anything about story arc or anything?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, this might not even get off the ground.
Gotcha.
Technically, I mean, this is pre-production, so who knows how far it could
Right.
go. There was concept art showing the Nine Tails and his father, like, leaning over what looked like him as a baby.
Oh.
So that's concept art, so who knows?
Yeah.
I'm guessing they'll do the origin. I don't know. Naruto's such a, no offense to the fans, a daunting task to keep up with and watch, because there's just so much they did with it, and it's such like a vast story. I mean, I love Dragon Ball, and I know a lot of people are like, what anime would you recommend? I'm like, well, I love growing up with Dragon Ball Z and everything, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's just such a long series, and since they got Super, it's extending it. I mean, if you want to watch it, cool. I mean, there's Kai, there's the Abridged series, which they do a phenomenal job. I mean, it's more joking based, but
I think that they're thinking, though, I mean, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, I feel like, you know, if it does really well, there's so much material to make more.
exactly.
So
I'm wondering if they're counting on, I don't know, possible stuff with Ghost in the Shell or the live action Full Metal Alchemist. So I'm wondering if they're counting on that, and that's why they wanted to put this into pre-production so that they could,
in case those headed off.
yeah, so that they could really escalate this stuff along. Well, we'll see where it goes. I mean, like I said, this is pre-production, so it was them like letting people know, hey, we're possibly working on this. And of course they do, speaking of Dragon Ball, have to overcome the opposition that is Dragon Ball Evolution. So I mean, I don't think you can top that level of bad.
Oh,
I know, sad. In other anime news, I know that the next season of Attack on Titan, which you and I both are fans of, is going to be making an appearance sometime next year.
God. Hurry
Maybe.
up.
Who knows?
I know.
Well, I'm glad they're taking their time. They're not, I mean, I don't think they're going to be putting filler in. It's going to be straight manga transition, so.
But it's like, does it need to be this long, though? I mean, I just, it's such a good series that I think it'll still be fine. But, you know, it's just, I would have hoped that they would have gotten it out a little bit sooner to kind of keep the fans happy, but
who knows? So, our discussion today on girl power, I guess let's jump right into that discussion. Get this thing moving, because we got some very interesting topics to discuss. Just pointing this out, I don't know if I'm the one that should be saying this, but I mean, Ellie, if you want to cut in, you can. Recently, there's been a lot more female heroes popping up in the cinematic universes,
yes,
and in the television universes.
Yeah, I was gonna say not just cinematic,
but it's not that they're. It's just that there is a plethora of female characters. It's just now they're really starting to make sure that they're out there and really starting to utilize them. So we just wanted to kind of discuss possible upcoming ones, what effect they could have on the story, and what they're really bringing to the table for the different franchises. I mean, we're going to also cover the gambit here of not just the movies, but we're also going to cover the TV shows, mainly the Flash and Arrowverse stuff, of course, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl. So that'll be covered as well. So we're kind of pushing TV in, because there's some stuff on there that I think's very interesting. Like I said, this isn't a definitive list of characters.
Right.
This is just ones that we felt were interesting that we have heard about that are going to be in it. So, with that, do you want to start with DC?
Sure.
All right. You just finished Supergirl, season 1.
Season 1.
You just finished that. So, what were your thoughts on it?
I liked it. I am not as familiar with, a lot of the comic book.
Which is why I get asked questions on a very regular basis.
Yes, and I know that you are a big fan of hers. Have a lot of the graphic novels and that kind of thing.
I have a few, yes.
And I just was intrigued to watch it, and I I knew that they were doing crossovers and that kind of thing, and I love Arrow and Flash and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed it. They did a really good job of humanizing her, and just the whole backstory of where she came from, and her coming to her own and not wanting to just be known for coming to Earth to help Superman, but she wanted to have her own identity. So it's a really good story. I thought it was well done. I'm looking forward to watching the new season. Just haven't had a chance to dive into it yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, they do cover some more stuff in the new. I know a little bit about the new season, and they do cover some stuff. But a possibility that could make an appearance in that, I don't know if it will be on Supergirl or if it will be on one of the other ones, but there has been brought up that there is multiple Earths.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which was tackled, of course, in the crossover event. It was mentioned that they are numbering the Earths as well, which is very interesting. But
so the new Earths.
I don't think they've given a exact. Here's how many we have. It's just they're numbering them as they discover.
Well,
them.
there was an episode in season 1 of Supergirl where the Flash
popped in.
Yeah,
and they said it
in.
was parallel. Mm-hmm. But since then, in the crossover, it's been referenced that there are multiple ones, which, just speculating here, I know that this is an entirely different topic. Could they do a crisis event to where it melds all the Earths into one and just folds over the continuity like they did in the comics? Or are they going to leave it to have multiple Earths? Don't know. Speaking of somebody who is from another Earth, we've got Power Girl, who has been hinted at to be possibly making an appearance.
That's a favorite of yours.
Yes, I'm actually a big fan of Power Girl for multiple reasons. She is basically an alternate universe version of Supergirl.
Right.
She is actually, there is some very interesting stuff with her, though. She, of course, has all the powers of a Kryptonian. I'm not going to go into her whole back history.
Okay.
Because it's, as I've discovered with doing some research for not only this episode, but other ones, DC's back pre-Crisis, pre-52, pre-this, that, or the other. It gets murky. It gets weird with some characters. So you just kind of, I just kind of picked and chose for more recent stuff.
And it's not just DC. I mean,
Marvel's there too, but they I think have a better job of being more upfront about what they've changed and when. Where DC kind of keeps it aloof, which isn't bad. It's just kind of like, well, wait, are they still that kind of character?
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that everybody understands that, we're talking about different versions and different things, so it may not always be what the current thing is.
The one they could use in the show could be a different version than the one we're talking about too. This is the more main one, and she's of course, like I said, Kryptonian. But here's an interesting thing: she is not affected by kryptonite on the main Earth that the comics take place in, because she's actually from a different Earth, and you can apparently only be affected by the kryptonite from your Earth. Now, that might have been retconned, that might have been changed. Like I said, I've done what research I can, so if anyone wants to jump on me about it, by all means, cite your sources, I'll look it up, and I will pay the price for my lack of research, possibly. She is still, however, affected by magic, which is something a lot of people do forget affects Kryptonians very severely. And that's, and like I said, conversation for another time, but that's why I think Shazam holds an upper hand in a fight against Superman from time to time. Not saying that he would win, but just does have an upper hand since his powers are magic-based. But we are talking about Power Girl, who is Supergirl from a parallel Earth, from a different Earth. She has the same power set. She's also a lot more confident in her abilities and a lot more confident in the way she carries herself. She does have her own issues from being from basically a forgotten Earth, or an Earth that doesn't exist anymore. The Superman that was her cousin is long dead and gone, or long not in existence anymore. So, I mean, she's kind of coping with that. She's really associated a lot with the JSA. So I know that that would be a very interesting thing to bring them in as well. Okay. I just like to see her in a live action role. I think that they could do a good job with her and kind of show, she's a more confident version of Supergirl. And she is, if I remember correctly, she is a little bit more powerful in the fact that she's just more confident with how she carries herself. Now, of course, Supergirl in the comics does have a little bit more anger issues and is a little bit more quick-tempered, so I think that's where that deviation comes from between the two of them.
Yeah, and I did like the one episode of Supergirl with the red kryptonite.
Yes, where it warped her.
And it kind of brought out her
and that once
feelings.
Again is a very interesting thing with the vastness of what red kryptonite really does, because
right.
You asked me about it, and I was like, well, it does this, and I looked it up, and it depends on if it's pre-crisis, if it's this, if it's that. So DC has a good job of not really explaining everything fully unless they absolutely need to, or fully doing stuff, which is fine. It's just if you're trying to cite stuff, it makes it a little bit difficult. On that note, I guess we should bring up somebody else who's going to be making an appearance very shortly in her own standalone movie.
Wonder Woman?
Yes, Wonder Woman. So
Diana Prince.
Yes, so she will be making an appearance, of course, in her own movie.
Can I just say how excited I am?
Exactly. A lot of people are excited about this. A lot of people enjoy Wonder Woman as a character, and that she is a very, I guess, female icon as well. So with that, she's going to have her own movie, which is going to be set during World War I era. Don't really know what's going on with it yet. They've kind of kept some of the story from what I could see, and I'm not trying to dig too deep because don't want to spoil anything for myself, but a lot of stuff's been kept sort of under wraps. But she will also then make an appearance in the Justice League movie, of course.
Right.
And, of course, we did see her in Superman versus Batman. I thought they did a good job with her in that. I felt the only issue I had, if I really want to critique it, is they kept on slowly hinting that it was her, even though everyone, as soon as she stepped on screen, was like, oh, that's going to be Wonder Woman. They kept hinting at it, and then they just heavy-handed just went over the top with it. And we're like, oh, Miss Prince. And it's like, okay, if you haven't gotten it by now, then that's Wonder Woman.
Well, and I like their little, in the Wonder Woman movie trailer, the little cute little things about how
she doesn't understand why women are subservient to men, sort of thing.
And the one lady was like, I like her because she was, asking stuff about the secretary.
Yeah.
I thought that was very, very well done. It was cute.
So, once again, with weird origin stories, I'm not going to get into hers because trust me, it gets weird. Very, very weird if we discuss her origins, but let's just kind of go over her powers. She is, of course, depending on the origin, she is possibly the son of Zeus. The daughter of Zeus.
Right.
Daughter of Zeus. So that gives her kind of divine powers. Question for the movie is, can she fly or not? Because that is something that, depending on some stuff she can fly, some stuff she can't, some stuff she needs an invisible jet for. It's kind of an up in the air thing, so I'm just wondering if they're going to allow her to fly or not. There was something in the trailer where it looked like she had the lasso below her and that she was up in the air, but she could have been jumping.
Right.
Of course, in Batman versus Superman, she jumped at Doomsday. But once again, was that flying or is that just her leaping forward at him?
Propelling.
Yeah, propelling herself forward, because we didn't see her flying like Superman does. So they might cut out flight, which if they do, I don't know if I'm a for or against that. It's just kind of, as long as she has, she also, of course, has super strength because of being an Amazon and because of multiple magical items that she does carry on her. The bracelets, which can deflect bullets, which once again, in some interpretations, she's kind of bulletproof. But in this one, I don't think she is, because it has shown her using the bracelets to block bullets. But
Yeah,
she
because
used
we were
it
kind of talking about, is
Yeah.
she blocking it or is she just doing that?
because she blocks it to save the one guy. She blocks
Yeah.
it, but then there's the one on the battlefield where she blocks it, and it's just her out there.
Yeah.
So it's one of those: is she doing it just to do it, or is she actually not bulletproof? I mean, she of course has. I mean, it's just there's so many. There's so much stuff they could pull from, and I mean, she has the lasso. I mean, she obviously has the lasso. We saw that. She obviously
Yeah.
has her sword and shield.
Right.
So that
They have the iconic stuff.
that makes me think she isn't bulletproof. She's
Right.
durable, but not bulletproof.
They show some of the Amazonian women dying.
Well, it's implied by one of the
Yeah.
trailers that you see one of them doing something, and then she's on. You kind of see like a zoom in from where she was to where the people saw her as like, oh no, something's happened to her. So I'm assuming. I mean, Diana's supposed to be like the greatest of the Amazons. So I mean, who knows? We'll have to see. I mean, something's gonna happen because I know this. Not trying to spoil anything, but there will be something that happens at the end of the Wonder Woman movie that will make her not want to be involved in the world of man for almost 100 years. And also, once again, she is somebody who is very long-lived as
Right.
well. So, I mean, obviously, they're going with that continuity where they don't age normally compared to regular humans. So, we'll have to see what they do with that. So rounding out DC, we're finally getting to a interesting set of characters. One more thing for Wonder Woman, real quick. I know at one point she is the god. I think she currently still is the god of war in the current continuity, if I remember correctly, which is interesting because she's taken the place of Ares, so she's now the god of war, which apparently has given her more power in the comics. Once again, highly doubt that's going to transition over into the movie, so
Right.
maybe way down the road, but right now, not so much. So I guess we're going to transition to the last ones for our DC, but it involves a trio of characters that are based in Gotham. And I know that these ones are ones that you've have some comics of and read
Oh,
up on
yes.
and definitely enjoy these characters. And they are,
Well, Catwoman.
I was going to say, they're the Gotham City Sirens.
Oh.
Which are
Catwoman and Poison Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Harley Quinn.
yeah.
So, of course, we've seen Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad,
Right.
which is what's kind of driving this push for these for this possible. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's confirmed new movie that's going to be being done where it's going to be based around them. I find this interesting that they're trying to broaden the universe already that much. I mean, DC's trying. I think I'm not trying to start the DC versus Marvel conversation. I think
Yes,
they're
please
trying.
not.
I think they're just trying to see what all they can do and see what sticks for them right now, which isn't bad in my opinion. Is it getting us the bad movies? Debatable, but at least we're getting some interesting movies that we might not have normally gotten before.
Well, I mean, and Catwoman, not that obviously I'm saying go out and be a burglar, but Catwoman is one of those characters that is more realistic. Like she's someone that
She doesn't have powers.
yeah.
Technically, Harley Quinn, I mean, aside from being a lunatic, doesn't have any powers
Right.
either. The only one out of that bunch that
Ivy.
does is sort of Ivy, but once
Yeah.
again, how real are they being with these? I mean, they've obviously shown that they are stretching out of what the Nolan films did, at least, which is the last time we saw Catwoman, which was portrayed by Anne Hathaway, and I think she did a great job as Catwoman.
Yeah,
I'm
didn't
trying to
have a
remember. I
problem.
don't think did they ever actually refer to her as Catwoman, or was it kind of just this? I'm trying to remember now.
I
don't know if they. Well, anyways, she was obviously the last Catwoman. She did I think a good job with it. I mean, once again, Nolan films are set more in the real world. This one's I think going to be a little bit more whimsical, so I'm sure that she could flip off of a building and land on the ground. But once again, she doesn't really.
She's
She's Batman if Batman was a cat burglar, basically. In the sense of she's trained herself to be an expert at gymnastics.
Well,
and
hand-to-hand combat.
Hand-to-hand combat, gymnastics.
And of course,
using
her
a whip.
famous bullwhip.
Yeah, and of course being able to use a whip, crack a safe.
Exactly.
So she would be an interesting character to have. Once again, they're going for the more... I'm assuming they're going to be anti-heroes possibly in this. Or, I mean, I don't know. How do you think they're going to do this? Because I mean, in Gotham City Sirens, they normally are... Are they really bad guys in it? Or are they kind of just... Depends on...
They're not really... Yeah, that's hard because they're not really bad guys. But they're not really good guys either.
Yeah, because I feel Catwoman, out of them, there has been some recent developments in the comics with Harley to where she's kind of... She's an anti-hero. She does stuff heroic if she needs to.
Right,
sort of situations in the comics. But Catwoman kind of... It depends on what benefits her.
Yes, it definitely for Catwoman, especially it's definitely for her benefit.
So if it's something that benefits her to be evil, she'll do it. If it's something that doesn't, then she kind of it just her motives are money based. So, or what does this do for me based?
Well, and then you also have Gotham that has these characters in it as well, Catwoman and Ivy. Mm-hmm. Ivy just in the news. Well. Maybe you shouldn't talk into spoilers. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Gotham, the TV show, not the city, by the way.
Yes, Gotham, the TV show. They definitely have, some of these characters in it as well.
Well, it would be
an interpretation of how they're doing it, yes.
Yeah, it would be really difficult for them to do Harley, though, because since at that point in time, I mean, once again, their timeline with the Gotham show is very weird.
Right.
But she'd be either probably in high school. She wouldn't be a doctor yet, which means she wouldn't have been involved with the Joker, which means she wouldn't be crazy.
Right.
Technically,
and
if you go with it.
Catwoman and Ivy are both like high school age, I would say too.
So let's move on to Ivy real quick, because there's a rumor going around that the casting might be Megan Fox.
Ugh.
No offense to Mrs. Fox and everything, but I think it should depend on how they play the character, because I know that we've had another interpretation of it that we're not going to talk about. I feel like we need to have Rob around for a discussion on the Batman, those Batman movies, because he has a very interesting take on them. But
oh gosh, okay, correct. I'm not here to judge anybody, and she's a beautiful woman. Don't get me wrong. She's.
But Ivy's an intellectual
too,
see, and I just don't.
And I'm not saying that she can't be.
That she couldn't pull off that part, but
it doesn't feel right for me for Ivy. I just don't see her doing that role. She has the sexiness down, of course, because Ivy is a very sensual character. But I don't think she can pull the scientist doctory kind of.
But once
vibe.
again, it depends how much they're going to go on that. I
Right.
mean, I'd like them to go on that to show that, that these characters are not just capable as, women characters, but they're very capable on an intellectual level to
Correct.
fight, to fight against whether it be Batman or other people, because Catwoman is, of course, very smart, career criminal of sorts. Mm-hmm. Harley's insane, which I think transitions into
she's just
smarts.
Fun. She's just fun.
And I mean, Ivy plans stuff out and she, I guess, out of the three of them, kind of has some power over plants, sort of. And
I mean, she's like an eco-terrorist as far as she's more concerned about a plant's life than a human's. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Hey, maybe it'll surprise me and it'll be great.
Exactly. I mean, we are not condemning this movie, by the way.
No,
we are speculating on what information we've been given and what we know about these characters, and if they're going to hold true to their comic book counterparts.
Right.
So, I guess we're going to move to Marvel now, which Marvel has some as well. So I guess we're going to start with I'm going to go with Logan. I want to go with the Logan movie first, which would introduce us to
X-23.
X-23.
Oh, yeah.
Who is a, per se, clone of Wolverine / Logan. Not going to get into her whole history because it's a very interesting one. I don't want to spoil everything for that, but she...
And can I just say that if anybody is interested in us...
doing origins.
Yeah, doing an origins of...
Or getting more in-depth discussions on these characters.
On a specific character, then we are more than happy to, get more detailed. We're just trying to give an overview of a lot of the different girl characters
that are going to be making their debut soon.
Yes, we're doing this because it's not the norm. I mean, it's always been the main male characters, and it's exciting.
And we're liking that they're tackling these female characters and getting more female characters out there.
I mean, do you think they're doing this to, hit on the market of all the female moviegoers that normally wouldn't be into comic book type stuff, or?
I mean, this could be anything. I think X-23, with particular of the X-23 discussion we're about to have, I think that's just kind of moving that story along. But for the other ones, I think it could definitely be wanting to get more, people interested in seeing these movies who aren't already. They're trying to make sure that they're tapping every market they can, so then when they put out the big crossover movies, they bring in as many people as they can. I mean, not like any of them are hurting for that audience. So X-23 is is a clone of Logan to an extent. There was something wrong with the chromosomes, I think, with the cloning process, so they had to make it a female instead. So when they cloned her, she actually grew bone claws, much like Wolverine did, but she has 2 on each hand.
But she has them in her feet.
She has 1 on her feet as well, each foot as well, in between her big toe and the rest of her toes that can come out. Here's an interesting fact, though. Her whole body, unlike Wolverine's, is not... well, I guess I should say Logan, because I'm going to put out a fun fact in a minute. Unlike Logan's, is not coated in adamantium. Only her claws are, because during the process, they removed her... They removed the 3 claws, 6 claws total, and coated them in adamantium and then put them back in her, and she escaped before she was able to have them do her entire body. She does, of course, have a healing factor. It is not specified, if it's better than Wolverine, if it's better than Logan's, if it's better than Deadpool's. It's just kind of, once again, a healing factor. This does, however, bring up the issue, though, with gunfire and stuff like that. Wolverine can just basically I keep saying that. Logan can basically charge headfirst into battle and kind of just shrug off bullets because he's completely coated in adamantium. She, however, cannot, but that does lead to the fact that she is a very world-renowned assassin as well. She's very adept with close quarters combat, hand-to-hand combat. Also is very adept at weapons, which is something that, I'm sure Wolverine knows how to use a weapon, but she is skilled and was basically raised and developed to be the ultimate weapon. Since they'd lost Wolverine, they couldn't get him back. So that's kind of where...
And I think it's interesting that she can, like, if a limb goes off, she
can actually take it and, like Deadpool has done before, she can put it up against where it came off of, and it will heal. It will reattach. I don't know how long that process takes. I don't know if it's instant or if it takes a few minutes. The reason I keep having issues with saying Wolverine is because currently in the comics, she actually is Wolverine. Wolverine, as we know him as Logan, is currently dead, or assumed dead, and he's encased in adamantium. There is Old Man Logan, but he isn't wearing the costume or doing that. If you look at our photo that we, of course, put up on our Instagram and on our Twitter, there is an image of her in the Wolverine outfit, and she is the current Wolverine.
Right.
So that's interesting that she's taking that spot. As for the movie, I bet she's going to have the adamantium claws. I bet she's going to have, of course, rage. She does, of course, have the berserker rage like Wolverine does. So there is something else that can send her into a blinding rage, which is...
She has trigger scent.
Which is something that apparently it's some pheromone or something that they can put on something where basically if she gets near it, it makes her go into her berserk kill mode and she just goes to town.
It's a type of conditioning.
Yes.
Yes.
So in the trailer, we did see in one of the trailers you did see her like somebody flipping around, which I'm pretty sure was her like stabbing into people. Mm-hmm. Could that be they had the trigger set on something?
Yeah, it's possible.
So,
and I'd like to point out too that along the whole theme of like Poison Ivy and some of the other characters of how they're not only, you know, for the villain type deadly and, you know, very strong, but they're also intelligent. She is supposed to be very highly educated and extremely smart too.
Because they molded her to be the perfect living weapon.
Yeah. So
definitely he's going to be an interesting character to have. I do want to point this out because I don't know when we're going to get a chance to talk about Logan again. I have a theory. If I'm wrong on this, please do not tear me apart. But I was talking to someone at work, and they had mentioned something about Xavier being in the movie. And I actually kind of blurted this out and didn't even think about it. I'm like, well, who says he's like physically there? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, I got an idea. What if he like somehow implanted his like himself into Logan's mind, or if Logan's just kind of has this inner dialogue with himself, and and the person he's having a dialogue with is actually Professor X, but he's not physically there. Like you know what I mean? It's revealed later that he's not had Xavier with him the whole time. It's just been him talking to himself that show that he's completely lost his mind. Like I said, don't know. Haven't seen much more in the movie. Just kind of a random prediction because Xavier would be old at this point. Very old.
Oh, yes.
I mean, Wolverine looked old. And apparently there's supposed to be some virus that wiped out a lot of the mutants. Mm-hmm. So that's supposed to have helped with, you know, kind of KOing his healing factor and aging him. But then again, I mean, I just think it's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
Since I've been having a lot of fun with theories and in these movies, I figured I'd voice that one. So in a few months, I can be like, haha, told ya, or I can just shut up and never speak about it again.
That's okay. That's the point of theories. They're just speculations.
Exactly. Fun speculation. Speaking of fun speculation, I think we're going to go to another movie that's coming out very shortly that will have 2 female characters being introduced in it, which would be the Thor Ragnarok movie.
Oh, yeah.
That will have Valkyrie in it, who is a Asgardian warrior who's basically... And she is just an amazing warrior that I think is going to bring a dynamic. I mean, Thor's not known for not having good female roles in it. I mean, they had Sif, and I'll bring up another one in a second. But that's definitely interesting that they're introducing the actual Valkyrie in it. So... I mean, depends on what origin you go with. I know that she's very involved in the Ultimate Universe at certain points. I know she's also involved in the main continuity. But she's an Asgardian warrior, and as we've seen from seeing other Asgardian warriors in battle, they're obviously pretty formidable. So I definitely am very excited to see her introduced. I don't know in what regards, because... This movie's got a lot of stuff going for it. It's supposed to have some Planet Hulk stuff. It's supposed to have some stuff with Stephen Strange being involved, with them finding Odin, with and also there's supposed to be some stuff with the Collector, and there's supposed to be some. It's supposed to have a ton of different stuff going on with it. So I'm just kind of wondering, you know, how are they going to fit all this in? And I'm hoping that they give Valkyrie a little bit more than just like oh hey, that's Valkyrie.
Well, and you can't help but love her sword, Dragon Fang.
That's an awesome name. I will give it to Thor mythology and everything.
Yes.
I mean, definitely, you know, of course, the actual mythology, but to the writers and everything, they have some unique names like Mjolnir or Mew Mew. Was that what it was? She called it.
Yes.
So I mean, that's all. I mean, he's got an axe that he uses as well.
And the I'm sorry, I can't get off of Dragon Fang. I love the way that the sword is supposed to be carved from the tooth of an extra-dimensional dragon.
I don't know if they're going to cover that in the movie, but it would be pretty cool.
It would be so awesome. I love it.
Like her getting ready for battle, and someone's like, "Is that your sword?" And then she says that, and they're like, "Oh."
Yeah, they have to do that, like, you know how in movies...
Nonchalant. Oh, it's just carved from the tooth of an interdimensional dragon.
Yeah, they just kind of squeak it in there.
And you know, the response is, "Oh." What have I got myself into? So,
Yes.
I mean, she might be involved in this whole arena battle thing. I don't know. I mean, this movie is supposed to go so many different directions. And
Well,
with the,
and if we're trying to relate it to Doctor Strange,
Mm-hmm.
the sword, we could do a whole episode on Dragon Fang. Thank you very much, guys and girls. But the sword actually was passed on to Ancient One, who then passed it on to Doctor Strange.
Interesting.
Yes, yes.
Fascinating.
I know. See, I'm just saying.
So, once again, Thor seems like it has a lot going on in it, which is going to be interesting. There's another character that's supposed to be being introduced that's a female. Hell.
Well, hell.
Exactly. Quite literally the name of the character and the place where she resides. She's kind of the lord of the underworld, basically, of Norse mythology and everything. Here's a fun fact, though, and I don't know if they're going to cover this in the movie. If I remember correctly, she's the daughter of Loki.
Oh,
I don't think that's going to be covered in the movie.
probably not.
But she's supposed to have, like, some sway in the movie as well, which I'm kind of interested in because I'm like, is somebody dead? Do they have to go to her realm to retrieve their soul? Who knows? I mean, she's also she's somebody that's very powerful. If I'm remembering correctly, she does sort of outrank not only if Loki is her father, but Thor as well in supposedly in power. Like, she commands an entire realm. So definitely interesting on where that may go. Might have something to do with what's going on with Odin if he's dead, or if they go there to try to bargain with her to get his soul back or to find out where he is. Like I said, who knows what kind of stuff's going to be going on with this. I know that there's probably a lot more internet speculation or a lot more internet stuff on this. We're trying not to read too much into stuff. We're just trying to have fun with the discussion on these characters.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to move on to another one that has their name in a title card coming up, which would be Ant-Man and the Wasp. Oh, I know. I see. Ellie knows the list, and there's one more.
Oh.
But we're saving that because I know that one has a special place in your heart.
It does.
So we have the Wasp, who is Ant-Man's counterpart of sorts.
Which they obviously hint at the end of the movie.
Well, they hint at the new Wasp, but then you had of course, I guess, classic Wasp or Golden Age Wasp that they had in they had in the flashback where she was able to shrink down below the particles and save everybody. But here's the thing. I'm interested to have her in because originally Wasp was supposed to debut actually in the Avengers movie. The original, the one back in 2012, she was supposed to be actually in that movie.
Okay.
And they cut that part to have it in later. And I don't think that's the last time we're going to be talking about a possible cut of a character from a movie before their debut. But of course, she's going to be teaming up with Ant-Man.
Right.
And she has kind of a similar power set to him in the sense of she shrinks down. She can fly upon her own accord with, of course, built-in wings. And she also has a sting that she can do as well, that she can energy projectiles from her hands. The sting, if they go along with her normal power set. She can also grow to giant size like Ant-Man can, but she does not utilize that ability that much because she does not normally like using it. If you are, man, this is another time I'm bringing this up. If you are a fan of the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes TV show, they do a fantastic job of portraying her in that. So if you want to see her, definitely give that a look. And she does only grow to giant size, I think maybe once or twice. She doesn't utilize it that much.
Right.
So that's definitely a cool way to, get to see that character and everything beforehand. But I think that's definitely, once again, bringing another interesting female character who was, in the comics, a founding member of the Avengers. So it's just kind of sad that she wasn't in the original movie. But once again, Marvel kind of knows what they're doing, it seems like, with their movies. All right, so now we've kind of jumped through these a lot, and we're sorry if we're briefing over characters that you're a fan of. We're just trying to, just give you some brief information so that you can
Like I said, we'll be more than happy to go in depth if somebody wants us to.
And if you want to, you can definitely, do the research yourself or look up some stuff yourself and let us know some stuff we might have missed. which is probably a lot because trust me, these people have decades worth of history behind them.
And that's why we can't stress enough that we're picking and choosing from different times in the comic book line.
Speaking of picking and choosing in different timelines and someone who's got a real weird continuity, we move on to our final female that we will be talking about today that is actually getting her own movie. And that is
Miss Marvel.
Which actually is going to be called Captain Marvel.
Yes.
She used to be Miss Marvel. She also used to be known as Binary. She also used to be known as Warbird, but overall she is Carol Danvers.
I love her.
Ellie's favorite character, and I'm going to have to probably repeat 5 times that it's Captain Marvel for this discussion and not Miss Marvel.
She's Miss Marvel in my heart. I have every single issue of the run back in the...
It was around the time of Civil War.
Yeah, I think it was then. I love it.
So, she has been, I think we probably brought this up before. If we haven't, then maybe this is the first time, because I know we've discussed this off mic a lot.
Right.
She is supposed to be one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe.
Insane.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, she's also a very strong character in the actual comic universe, too. I mean, her history is weird. So I'm not going to get into too much of that. But what does she bring to the table? Well, going back to the comics, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a character called Rogue. Yes. Comic book Rogue, mind you. I'm not talking about movie Rogue.
Right.
Absorbed her powers. She did not get the energy manipulation, but she did get the ability to fly. She got the strength because she held on to Rogue for that long that she permanently absorbed those powers. And she only absorbed a fraction of what Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel now, is capable of. So she is a very powerful character. She has energy manipulation. She has the binary power as well. I don't know if they're going to touch on that because that's definitely a convoluted story in itself.
I think she's one of those characters that I think they will dumb her down. And I don't mean intelligence dumb. I mean her powers. I think they're going to have to...
You mean like they've done with Vision, Scarlet Witch, Thor...
Because we'll
see what happens with Spider-Man.
She's so powerful. Everybody be like, why doesn't she just go in and take care of this? Like, why are we? So.
Exactly. I mean, they could. She is an expert in hand-to-hand combat. She's an expert in espionage as well. Yes. I mean, she's got just such a list of talents and stuff. She is also been able to withstand pressures of over 90 tons of weight. Which is amazing. So, I mean, this is the comic book version, so we don't know what they're going to do with her in the movie. I mean, I'd be very interested to see what they do with her, because she would definitely it would be very cool to have a female character as one of the strongest ones.
Oh, yeah.
In the universe, and if she can go up against, Thor or the Hulk and finally Thanos.
Wow.
I mean, getting sidetracked for a split second, I'm excited about Thanos being involved. I just want to know on what level, like, how are they going to show how strong he is?
Right.
Because, I mean, I'm just thinking he's just going to backhand the Hulk. I don't want to say because I like the Hulk, but I mean,
they'll do something like that just to show how.
Yeah, it's exactly. How do you show what this guy can do?
Right.
And if he just, I mean, and he can, in the comics, he can, without the gauntlet or anything, kind of go up against base level Hulk, mind you, level Hulk. I'm not talking about World Breaker Hulk or anything like that, but just he can smack around the Hulk pretty easily for the most part, and that's not without even having the Infinity Gauntlet with any of the gems in it. So I'll be interested to see what they do to show how powerful he is, and then what she is going to be able to do to go up against them. She was actually supposed to be introduced in the Avengers Age of Ultron movie, if I remember. It was Age of Ultron or Civil War. She was supposed to be introduced to one of those two. So she was supposed to be, once again, another character that was supposed to be introduced earlier on. And I guess I don't know if they're going to bring in the Kree and the Skrull in this then, too, because technically
That's definitely in her background, yes.
But here's something that is interesting. There was trying not to spoil this, but I don't think it is. There was a part in Doctor Strange where it was referenced that there was a woman in the age range that Carol Danvers could be that had a like microchip or something fried in her brain from a lightning strike. Is that referencing possibly her origin? I mean, you're a big fan of her. Do you I mean, not having Marvel, not having the Kree and the Skrulls, not having all, I mean, because she's a hybrid of Kree and human physiology. That's why she's so strong. It's a perfect amalgamation of it. So with them cutting that out, I mean, do you think that ruins the character slightly? Or do you think that it's something that as long as they can get everything else right, you're willing to sidestep that?
So when I watch comic book movies, I watch them just for their individual, like for the film version.
Yeah.
It's once again kind of like what we're talking about with kind of picking and choosing where we're talking about these characters from different universes or different parts. It's the same thing with these movies. They can't put everything in the movie, and they can't put every, different version. So I'm okay with it. Just, I understand they have some liberties and they can't put everything in it. So,
I mean, it would take several movies, I think, to completely explain stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, I'm very interested in what they do with these characters. I mean,
I really have to, we have to see it first before we really can make a full judgment on it.
And finally, just as a note of a character that has been introduced, and I think they did a good job with as a female character and everything, the Ancient One. Mm-hmm. I know that there's some people that are up in arms. I'm not trying to start that argument here.
Oh, no.
People, I'm not.
We're just discussing.
I think that they did a phenomenal job with her being a female in it. I don't think that affected the storyline at all.
Right.
Am I a big Doctor Strange fan beforehand? I knew a lot of his backstory. Did I care that they made her a female? I wanted to see how it was done, and I think they did a good enough job with it. And it's kind of one of those things where I think that brought a new, interesting level into the character as well. So I think that's going to wrap up our discussion on girl power.
Woo!
And we'll probably be revisiting this at some point. I'm sure that there'll be another discussion at some point of female comic book characters. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to wrap things up. And we've got some news about an upcoming episode and everything. So stay tuned for that. This is
Zeng This.
You always need to tell it. All right, welcome back. Before we wrap things up, I got to give a few shout outs real quick.
Shout outs.
It's kind of the end of the year, I guess, for us. I mean, we're not going anywhere. We're gonna have an episode out next week, possibly in a galaxy far, far away. Copyright. Don't. No.
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
Okay. So to wrap it, to kind of give a thanks, I know we haven't been around for a year yet, but we just want to thank, everyone who's been listening to us so far.
So much fun.
And we've been having a lot of fun with this stuff, and thanks for bearing with us through me learning, because I'm learning to do this, and Ellie is learning to do this with me as well, and how to edit and do a lot of this stuff. So we're getting better with Stride and everything. We just also want to give some shout outs to the Unbelievable Podcast and everyone from that who's come over. I know that I've got a few fans that pop up from there that definitely are active on our Twitter feed and hopefully listen to every week's episode with bated breath and anticipation. So thank you guys for doing that. I got to thank the guys over at Rumor Flies. They did a lot of help with us, getting started and everything. I was in communication with them, so I think they're going to have their new season starting soon. So definitely check them out.
Awesome.
And they've got 2 previous seasons, and they're a fun bunch of guys for a podcast to listen to. On another podcast note, if you guys are a fan of the sensation Westworld, I would definitely check out Brokebot Mountain podcast. Yes. It is one done by the Blazing Caribou Studios. It's got Carrie Sims on it.
And I wanted to say, before you finish, I am going to make it a point to finish the season so that maybe we can talk about that soon.
And maybe we can have something with them on it. We'll see what happens. I mean, they do a great job. They've gone through all the episodes, and now they're going back through and looking at, critiquing, different stuff and trying
Getting
to
more in depth.
theorize about what might possibly be on the way. So who knows? Definitely a great series. Also want to give a huge shout out to Jeremy. I know that there's probably a lot of people out there named Jeremy, but Jeremy, if you know which one you are, he's helped us a lot with the equipment we have behind the scenes here. So I just cannot thank him enough for the help he's given us with our equipment on the background end. So thank you, Jeremy. Want to give a shout out to Ben. He knows which one he is, and he's given us some feedback and everything.
And we love that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, he's emailed us and stuff and been a great fan to have to communicate with. So I just want to thank him. And finally, I want to thank Kat, who is, of course, a Patreon.
Yay, Kat!
A Patreon subscriber. And also, she made a comment the other week on the Zelda thing, which was very interesting. She made a comment about it looks like, because of course in the trailer you see a lot of Hyrule and it looks all damaged and stuff and rusted over. She said it looks like damage that could have been done after a flood. Oh. Well, here's an interesting thing. On the weird Zelda timeline, Wind Waker, the one where basically everything's flooded, this could take place after that. So the world's water level could have gone back down, and this could be even further in the future on the timeline. So that's an interesting thing. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, Kat, but I like where your mind was when I put those pieces together. I was like, that's awesome. So thanks, Kat, for that comment.
Yay, thanks, Kat.
We just want to thank, everyone out there who's helped support us. We want to thank Rob, who's our guest on whenever he wants to be and just pops in and gives us his input. We also want to thank Kelly, who's been our guest once, but I know he's an avid listener. So thanks, Kelly, for your support. And I guess now, after patting ourselves on the back, we can tell people, where to find us.
Yes. So don't forget to check us out on SoundCloud at Zeng This.
You can also find us on Google Play now at, of course, Zeng This.
iTunes, Zeng This.
You can also, we're on Tuned In now. Yay! And Stitcher. So we're slowly getting on more and more stuff, podcatchers, as we can.
Facebook, Zeng This.
You can definitely be a fan of our page.
Give us a like.
Yeah. I normally say that. So you got that for this one. On Twitter, you can follow us. It's
at Zeng This. Give us a tweet.
Yes. And finally, you can get on Instagram, and you can that's actually Zeng This podcast. So you can get. We're trying. We have made a vow in our little pre-show meetings to next year that we're gonna go gung-ho and be a lot more active in the social media side. And
I think a lot of people like your little collage photos that you do every week to kind of give a peek of what's coming up. We're
also trying to, hey, if we get a graphic novel, we're trying to show, hey, this is what we're reading this week. So if we get a lot of, fan feedback on that might be a new Read This segment.
Cool.
So that could definitely be something that you guys can get involved in. And finally, if you want to contact us directly, of course, you can do it through most of those other ways. But you can also do it through zingthis@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And finally, if you want to contribute to us, there's, of course, Zeng This on Patreon. Finally, DJ Golden Boy, play us out. We'll see you guys next week, where we will come to you at light speed, lightsabers ablazing.
Nice.